Reese, tell us a little bit about Melanie. What is she looking for? What is she running away from? And
Well, the character I play, Melanie, is a woman who grew up in this very tiny, small town, southern town, and she leaves under a series of circumstances that you find out through the film that are very painful to her, and so she decides to sort of lose her identity, her southern identity, and go to New York and try and make it as a fashion designer. And just when she's right on the cusp of making it, she has to go back home and sort of deal with her past and what it's like to be, you know, a hometown girl.
do you think like it's very significant that she's actually a designer because somehow she designs also her life? Could you, how do you relate to that? How do you explore that?
Well, I think that's an interesting point, that she does sort of try and control a lot of aspects of her life, and I think it's a movie about learning that you can't control who you really are. You know, you can cover up a lot of who you think you are, but ultimately it will all be revealed when it comes to those sort of real moments in your life where you have to really be yourself.
There's an interesting, I read something in the production notes that Andy said, which is like the right guy versus a great guy.
Right.
So
I love that the part of the movie that it's like she has to choose between two men, but neither one of them is a bad person. None of them have sort of a mark on their character. They're both really decent human beings, and it's really about choosing the right guy for you. You know, it's a very personal choice in your life.
and it's great. I really enjoy the fact that since both of them are great, you don't know what's going to happen. And usually you go to the films and you know what's going to happen. You know the girl's going to end up with a good guy and the bad guy, you know. But in this story, it's just so different, and it must have been much harder for your character to really make a decision and find who really, you know.
Yeah, I think it's more representative of reality, too. I mean, we're more often faced with decisions about, you know, should I do this good thing or this good thing? You know, career decisions are like that, life decisions are like that. And so for me, you know, that's what makes sort of an interesting movie, when you have more of a representation of reality.
What elements do you look in your to be in your characters when you pick your projects?
Well, I try to sort of, particularly in more modern movies, to represent a modern feminine attitude, because I am, you know, a modern working woman, and those kind of women I relate to. Women who are trying to balance a lot of different things in their lives. I guess that's very personal for me.
You do, and you're always doing accents. You do really good accents.
I like accents. Yeah, it's fun.
Because we last saw you in The Importance of Being Earnest, and so tell me about how do you relate to the characters? What kind of associations or you know, how does that work for you?
Well, it's always very personal when I choose a role, that I have to feel like I hear her voice, or I know who that person is, or I've seen or experienced that personality before, because you know, I honor my characters. I really care about them, and they really become a part of me, and I become a part of them. So it's very important that I can really relate.
Reese, and the last question: what do you think is the message behind the story in like very few words, like?
Okay. Well, I guess it sort of goes back to the idea of there can be a lot of good decisions in your life, but you have to think, particularly about the very important moments in your life, you have to really listen to your heart and really know who you are inside in order to make the right decision.
And do you think a small town helps to hear that little voice?
Well, I think it's about your heritage. It's about your homecoming, and about knowing where you really are and what are your values, and realizing what values are very important in your life.